Good afternoon and welcome to the Society for Academic Emergency Medicine's National Grand Rounds. I am Dr. Jim Holmes, President of SAEM. For those of you joining us for the first time, SAEM is the premier international organization representing researchers, educators, and academic leaders in emergency medicine. In our work, SAEM promotes and facilitates scientific discovery, educational innovation, and the professional and leadership development of our members. Today, we are bringing together emergency physicians from all over the country and the world to hear from and speak with. We're going to need to edit that speak with because no one's going to get to talk with him. To hear from Dr. Anthony Fauci about vaccine distribution and what it means for the emergency department. We are grateful to Dr. Fauci for taking the time to share his knowledge, expertise, and experience with the larger emergency medicine community. After the Grand Rounds presentation, our moderators, who I will introduce shortly, will facilitate a question and answer session between Dr. Fauci, our online content experts. I would like to thank the co-sponsors of today's events. We have several emergency medicine organizations joining us today. I would also, go ahead, Ian.
I was going to say, is it fair to say all? I mean, all
So normally we would all have our mutes on and our cameras off, but can at least my staff please turn your cameras on so we can see your visual cues? For example, Melissa, when Jim said to make that edit, I need just confirmation that you understood and made that edit. If we want to say all EM organizations, I'm sure there are others, but these are all the main ones.
I would say all the major.
I think just all is fine. I wouldn't even say major. Because then you're like, next thing you know, we'll get an email from so-and-so and like, you didn't talk about us. So we have all of the emergency medicine organizations joining us today. I would also like to thank our content experts and all of the viewers joining us on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Finally, I would like to thank our moderators for today, Dr. Ian Martin and Dr. Richard Rothman, who will be guiding our discussion. Dr. Ian Martin is professor with tenure of emergency medicine and internal medicine at the Medical College of Wisconsin School of Medicine in Milwaukee. At MCW, he serves as the system chairman of the Department of Emergency Medicine, as well as emergency physician-in-chief in the Freighter and Medical College of Wisconsin Health System. Dr. Martin is the immediate past president of SAEM. Dr. Richard Rothman is professor of emergency medicine and internal medicine at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. Dr. Rothman serves as executive vice chair in the Department of Emergency Medicine at Johns Hopkins Medicine and has aided SAEM in its COVID endeavors, or something of that nature. Rich, is that all right?
We can promote him. We can call him a COVID-19 czar.
How about COVID-19 programming?
Yeah, that's probably actually better. And has chaired the COVID-19 programming. There you go. Dr. Martin and Dr. Rothman, thank you for being here today and for moderating this important discussion with our special guest.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Look forward to it.
Dr. Rothman, I now invite you to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Can we time out? I don't think we need the two gentlemen to say thank you to Jim at that point, because it's a little odd with the slide flow.
All right.
Okay.
So let's kill that. All right, go ahead, Jim. Back to the script.
Dr. Rothman, I now invite you to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Thanks, Dr. Holmes. To better understand the evolving role of vaccines in the ongoing pandemic, we're privileged to be joined by Dr. Anthony Fauci. Dr. Anthony Fauci is director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at the U.S. National Institute of Health, where he served for more than 40 years, overseeing a broad research portfolio focused on infectious diseases and immune-mediated diseases. As one of the world's most productive and cited biomedical scientists, Dr. Fauci's made numerous fundamental and seminal contributions in both basic and clinical research, including understanding the role of immunosuppressive therapy in human immune response, characterizing HIV pathogenesis, and developing effective treatments for individuals with HIV. Dr. Fauci's advised 6 past presidents on various domestic and global health issues. Major achievements on the global front have included serving as one of the principal architects of the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, which saved millions of lives throughout the developing world, and championing basic and applied research to address U.S. and global emerging infectious disease threats. with past efforts including leading the US and global response to the H1N1 pandemic and the Ebola pandemic. Throughout the COVID pandemic, and as recently noted by the CEO of the American Medical Association, Dr. Fauci has been the consistent voice of fact and reason based on best evidence of the time. We're extremely appreciative that he'll now continue to serve in a central role as President Biden's chief medical advisor. One note from the emergency medicine community is that Dr. Fauci has been consistently recognized and supported the role of academic emergency medicine investigators as critical scientific partners in advancing research in emergency infectious disease threats. He's also been highly supportive and vocal of the critical role emergency clinicians have and continue to play at the front lines throughout this pandemic. We're looking forward to hearing your update on the status of the pandemic and particularly on developments and challenges around the evolving role of SARS-CoV-2 vaccines. Welcome, Dr. Fauci, and thank you for being here.
Okay, at this point, Kat would stop sharing her slides. Dr. Fauci would talk. I think we do have a question for the panelists. And I'll also say my opinion was that intro is about twice as long as we probably should have.
I didn't edit any of it. I thought it was a little long too.
Yeah.
But I didn't do any. I think, like, for example, I think that whole last part could probably go, which is.
Did Fauci's people send this directly though, or did we create this?
We created this.
Oh yeah, we can cut it down then.
So I would take from one note for emergency medicine community, those last sort of 3 paragraphs. I think you could easily cut that out because that's more about us than him.
Yeah, I think because it's long, it gets kind of awkward. There's some awkward wording in there too, like pandemic, 3 times in like one sentence.
Yeah, you can.
It's
H1N1 pandemic.
Yeah, because I don't know how Rich felt, but it seemed like some of the sentences are kind of run on, so it's like actually hard to read them.
So Rich, you should admit,
I liked a little bit of the discussion of his support of emergency medicine. I don't know that it would be quite as long, but I actually I don't know, I kind of liked that. I thought it was.
I like that part too. I think there's other parts that are too long.
Yeah, everybody knows who he is. So
yeah,
a quick introduction, thank him for who he's been to us, and then Fauci.
All right, Rich, you're doing this, so it needs to be in your voice. I would say if you can get this cut in half.
Rich, you're on mute.
I mean, I'm happy to do it, but then it's kind of my voice.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was muted. I can cut it down.
Okay.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay, Fauci's going to start talking. He's talking. And now he just says something brilliant and finishes talking. Script.
Thank you, Dr. Fauci, for this timely and insightful presentation. Audience members submitted questions in advance of the session today. We will try to get as many questions as possible in our remaining 20 minutes.
The only thing I'm thinking right there is I think we should edit that script to say audience members submitted hundreds of questions, and our Q&A experts have grouped them to the ones that we think are most pertinent, something like that.
Can I make a suggestion? Like just thinking about the questions, I mean, it looks like we only have 20 minutes, right? I don't think we need 30 questions if we're also going to be trying to like follow what Fauci is saying and like with add-on questions. Can we just have like 20 questions?
I would have more than we need just in case. I mean, the last thing we want is just our pants down and Ian sitting there going, "Hey, Dr. Fauci, how was it working with Donald Trump?"
Yeah, no, I think we can have backup questions. I'm just worried about having a document that's so long that we are struggling to work in it. Again, maybe it's just my fear of Google Docs.
It will, trust me, it'll work, and it's that pregnant silence at the end because we're not prepared is much worse than sorting through a few extra questions, is my guess.
It sounds like it's confusing for you all to see the questions sort of jumping around on the screen as they get moved around during the presentation. Is there some other way to highlight or otherwise indicate something we want to steer you to without copying and pasting all over the place?
Well, this is the point I was getting to before. I actually don't like the questions to move.
Right.
Because I've already in my mind learned where things are on that document. So actually, I think when Melissa moves them around, it actually makes me more confused. So I think that the questions should stay where they are, but I think that's why we need a strike function or something that says, even question 30 has already been dealt with, so don't look at that anymore. But moving them around is very confusing.
And why don't we leave them all in the same spot? We'll strike through the ones when they're asked, and then maybe we should have some sort of like a light green highlight or something, like green means go, for the top 4 questions that the Q&A folks think should be asked. And that way you and Rich are just looking at those.
Yeah,
4
that would be
green
helpful,
ones.
because then we can preview, like, here's the couple that I'm going to select from.
Okay, so.
And the content experts will promise not to highlight and unhighlight willy-nilly.
Yeah, I think
we can communicate with each other in the chat so that we're not.
so. You could, yeah. So you can basically. I just highlighted this section right here, right? And then, oh, you're not sharing my screen. Sorry. So you can highlight the question and then hit highlight color and black it out, and then they can't see it, and that will go a long way for them knowing not to do it.
Okay. The other thing is,
you mean that
that
after it's gotten asked, we highlight it black, or Melissa will highlight it black?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll highlight it. We'll strike through and probably make it a different color when it's done, so you can tell it's done. But I don't want to do black, because if there are other grouped questions that are similar to one that's already been asked, then we may repeat. So we'll definitely do that on the staff side, and then the content experts, if you can just make sure to keep, populating with the populating this question document with the best questions from the full list. That would be the best.
the other thing I would say is you guys are all going to be on mute during this session. So we could open a conference call line too, if you guys would like to be able to physically talk with each other and Melissa during the session, or we just stick with chat.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm a little worried that it will detract from my ability to listen to him and be able to kind of curate the right questions based on what he's actually said.
Yeah, maybe if we can use that internal panelist chat function to communicate with each other if we need to.
Yeah, I'm happy with the chat rather than having to listen to 2 things.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Fauci, for this timely and insightful presentation. Audience members submitted hundreds of questions in advance of the session today. Our Q&A experts have prioritized the questions. We will try to get to as many as possible in our remaining 20 minutes.
That'd be we referred to them as content experts before.
Our content experts have prioritized the questions. We will try to get to as many as possible in our remaining 20 minutes. Dr. Martin, would you like to ask the first question?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.
And Jim, you know that 20 minutes that you're just like, if for some reason he talked for 10 minutes, you're adjusting that time. So it's like about 2:45. So if he talks for 10 minutes, you're going to be like in our remaining 30 minutes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Well, maybe we'll get as many questions as we can
in our remaining time.
2:45. Yeah, in our remaining time.
Okay, let's just say remaining time.
Yeah. Want someone think they can go to the refrigerator, get a beer, sit back and relax, and then come back for a little, and we're all gone. All right, Ian, Dr. Martin, would you like to ask the first question?
Thank you, Dr. Holmes. Be honored to. Dr. Fauci, can emergency medicine buy you a beer? Whatever we're gonna ask. I mean, I think, and I love your thought. I mean, I think there's, with leadoff questions, it's either you're really going for the sort of the interesting personal question about him being a superhero, or you're going for something that's sort of deep in the weeds of the science. What are you guys thinking? Where would you prefer?
I think you should invite him to the first SAEM meeting that's in person and have them come and visit with us.
I can plug it for sure.
Yeah, I don't think we should get into the weeds right away.
Okay.
There are
so more of an icebreaker kind
in the weeds questions, but I think it should be either something more personal or general.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. That would be my druthers too. I think it just kind of eases him in, but also shows a little bit of humility and humor on our part as well as their part.
All right. So he asked that, and Fauci's like, ha ha ha, keep dreaming, Ian. And then he answers a question, and then he's done asking his question, and then Rich jumps in, right?
So we didn't go deep in the weeds here. I mean, this is where so Rich, so Jim's going to hand off to me. I am going to populate this question into this form just so it's just readily available. It kicks us off well. It'll probably be more of the personal kind of question as we talked about. He'll respond, and I'll say, thank you, Dr. Fauci. And I'll probably turn it over like Rich. And then
we don't need to go back through me, right?
No, I took all that out because it got really cumbersome. So I think it's just I'll vocally say, hey, Rich, now to you, or something like that.
Are you guys just going to rotate in the same order so that?
They're just going to go back and forth, and Ian will have the last question. But I don't want to hear a whole bunch of like, thank you, Rich, thank you, Ian, thank you, Rich, thank you, Ian, thank you, Fauci. Just like, let's just ask the question.
Yeah.
And then it would be great instead of having to say thank you, like he asks the question, he answers it, and then Rich could be like, excellent point. I also have a question, like that, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. This will allow a little bit of fluidity and a little bit of spontaneousness here, for sure, spontaneity rather here.
Yeah, for the guys who are messing with the questions, some of these questions are really long-winded in the way they worded them. So if you can cut down to get to the point better, it would be really helpful for you and I.
No, we'll work together to rephrase the questions. I did see some of the ones, and some of the additional ones are extremely long-winded.
I've pulled out some of the ones that I thought were like well written, that were particularly relevant. I saw Larissa also had some comments, so I think the three of us can work together.
Mine were just more on topics, but we can pick the best worded ones,
or we can
write our own. Frankly, if some are not well worded, we'll just write them again.
Yeah. And Rich, we're saying, I was like, hey, Rich, and then you're like, from Dr. Smith. Go ahead.
I don't think so. So you're going to ask the first question, and Fauci's going to be like, yay, I like beer, and COVID is bad, and wear your mask. And then you don't say anything more. And then Rich is going to go, exactly, or thank you, Dr. Fauci, or brilliant question. That leads me to the next question. And he just talks. And then after Fauci responds, Rich doesn't say anything. And just, Ian, you start.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. We should maximize our time here in Fauci's talk.
How will you guys signal that we're close to the last question? Is that going to come from you, Megan, or Jim, or?
Yeah, I can, well, it will be based on time. So when we're at like 43 minutes, that's when, or maybe 40 minutes, 42 minutes, Ian will be like, okay, last question.
So I think that, I wrote in the script down here, like in this all caps purple, so I think I'm gonna have to keep track. I'm probably have a little timer, but when we're at the 40 is when I would chime in and say, we have time for just one more question. Dr. Fauci, blah, 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 blah. So I'll have to have a timer.
Are you guys on the script now? Like, can we just see some version of somebody marking it up so I can see what what the flow is going to look like on the script?
The script is not going to change. The script will stay the same. It's only the Q&A document that will change.
Yeah. No, I meant the Q&A document. So somebody named Anonymous Goose is on it now.
Melissa, do you have the template open, or have they even populated that yet?
So the template has not been populated yet, but we can do a quick example if that would be helpful.
Okay, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, and I will put it in.
Are you putting a link to the template? Is that the template?
That is the template, yes.
And Melissa, will somebody be putting these links in the chat the day of as well, just so I'm not before we start, right?
Yes, and they are linked into the script, so you can find them inside the script as well. Let me just adjust this briefly. Okay, so here, this is the document with all of the questions. So the content experts will copy and paste one of the questions that they feel are priority and paste them into the, whoa, somebody's typing.
I was just going to add in just to remark that this is a time for one more question. Can I put that in?
Okay, well, let me just
This is
do
not
one
that
example.
document, Ian.
Oh.
This is just going to be, this is the document that the Q&A experts are doing their homework on between now and tomorrow night.
Oh, I'm not on that document. I'm in the script.
Well, whoever was writing Dr. Fauci, you're able to join us at our next meeting is in it.
Okay, that's not.
Okay, so this is going to be filled out by our Q&A experts, and then they're going to prioritize this before the session even starts with what questions they think they should be asked in priority order. This is the one that you're going to be reading from. And then we're going to just use, if you want to just strike out any text, Melissa, to show them what a strikeout looks like.
Yeah, so once the question is completely done, we're going to highlight it red as in done, and we will strike it out with, oh, can't get my strike through. Sorry, 1 second.
Let's just leave it red. Red means stop, green means go.
Yeah.
So red is good, and then green, the Q&A experts will have up to 4 that are highlighted green, which means those are the ones, one of the ones they think you should ask next.
That's great.
Okay, and then once it's asked, they'll go from green to red, and there'll be a bunch on there that will have no color, which you can ignore.
Ian and Rich, can I ask a question? Can we, during his talk, are you comfortable if we change the order based on kind of the points that he's making in the talk? And then once he has stopped talking and we are at the point where we ask questions, then we stop modifying where they are. That way we're sort of pulling to the top the ones that seem the most.
Yeah, I would say when we start the Q&A, that it needs to be static at that point in terms of moving the questions around.
So we'll just use the red and green.
I think we're not going to move. We're not going to move them. Like you said, we're just going to highlight them.
No, yeah, I was just thinking during the talk, we might want to pull up the kind of ones that are most relevant up to the top so that, you know, they can just read down them, hopefully more or less in order without having to search through the whole document looking for the green.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful for me if Ian's going to ask sort of a light question at the beginning to have a good content question picked out, like, you know, for tomorrow. And then the other ordering, yeah, that's fine with me, Alyssa.
All right, we are right at the top of the hour, and we do have another meeting starting. So
I just inserted toward the end after we've alternated as many questions as we can until the 40, and I'm going to have a timer and a big sign on my computer to keep track of time. But I'll just say, Dr. Fauci, we have time for one last question. I'll ask that. And Dr. Fauci, thank you for taking so many questions for a great discussion this afternoon. Dr. Holmes, I turn the program back over to you.
Thank you again to Dr. Fauci for sharing your expertise with the academic emergency medicine community across the nation and around the world. Thanks, blah, 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 blah. Stay safe. Have a good day.
Maybe in there you could just add, we hope you'll join us at one of our future annual meetings.
Yes.
that's a
Where we
good
can have a beer and a martini. He's more of a martini kind of guy.
I would like to personally invite you on behalf of SAEM.
Then as Jim is fixing the script, once he ends, just know there will be like a couple second pause and then Thomas will end the meeting. We don't get to stay and congratulate each other, so good job. It just kind of disappears and life goes on.
So we're not making any more changes to this document, this script document.
You're going to make any more changes to the document. If for some reason, Rich or Ian or Jim, you have a brilliant idea, you have to email it directly to Melissa. You cannot change this document anymore.
Isn't Rich going to change the bio though?
Yeah.
Except for the bio. Good point. Please change the bio.
Melissa, Megan, you want me to change that on the document?
Yes.
Okay.
And you don't use the suggest function. You guys want him to do the editing, right?
Yep. Go ahead and edit and make sure you read it out loud to yourself in the mirror. So you say all the words and they're your words and they flow.
Hey, Megan, I had just 2 small things and take or leave. But Dr. Rothman, when you were doing your intro, I don't know if your laptop sits below you and it's kind of looking up, but what you were scripting and reading was above the camera. There's any way maybe to raise your laptop or your camera just so it's at eye level with what you're reading. there's a little bit better eye contact if you can have your camera at the same level.
Okay, thanks. I'm actually going to be in my office, but I'll try that on when we do the prep. Thanks, Wes.
Rich, by the way, Jim and I decided we're wearing ties, so you have to wear a tie too.
I'm wearing a suit.
Well, yeah, I'll have a suit on, so wear a suit and a tie.
All right, talking with a DC man, you got to dress DC. Okay.
And the last thing really quick, I promise, Dr. Holmes, you may just want to slow down slightly. That may have just been practice, but the cadence was rather quick during the opening. So just a small pauses in between might feel a little.
Yes, we'll do.
Jim, are you going to wear those headphones?
No, I will not have my glasses or my headphones. I will look like a respectable old man.
President.
You mean on the top, right? You'll be wearing shorts or scrubs on the bottom?
I will have shorts on the bottom.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah,
It all
great
comes
job, everyone.
together.
Sounds great.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Thanks,
And
everybody.
we'll see you prior to the webinar.
Bye, everybody. Have
Bye,
a good
everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Dan. Dan, you there? You have time, or you have to jump over to another meeting?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, so just with regards to the stream, I know I have to be on speaker view.
Yes, you have to
I
be.
was on gallery view just so that I could see what the hell was going on with everybody. But I have to be on speaker view. That's the main thing.